Open top roll, defensive top roll, posting top roll, low hand top roll, defensive king's move, offensive king's move. What does it all mean? How do you do it? I'm going to break it all down for you in this video. Let's get into it. Man, that intro was a mouthful. However, I thought it would be fun to look at the outside family tree of arm wrestling, basically breaking down the different styles, the names for them, and even looking at some footage of each one in practice. Fair warning, there really isn't community consensus on what to name everything. We're going to do the best job we can here, and there are just so many joints in the arm and hand that, I mean, the slightest change might make one person call something X and another person call something Y. Alright, if I zoom in here, we're going to start with the defensive branch of the Toproll branch of the outside arm wrestling branch. By the way, I'll also be doing one of these for inside arm wrestling, covering the different variations of hooking and pressing, so if you think I've earned it, please subscribe and you won't miss that. Okay, let's get into things here. We're going to start with the open top roll, and as Engin made very clear to us, there is a distinction between an open top roll and a king's move. Okay, to better understand the distinction between an open top roll and a king's move, let's watch Engin hit an open top roll in his match against Artur Makarov. Alright, let's pause right there. First, Engin is very much attacking Artur's hand, so he's going for a top roll, but you'll notice he's in a very open position. His elbow joint is obtuse. He's not even making an effort to close that gap there between his forearm and his bicep, so he's open, he's top rolling, and the difference between this and a king's move is that he's not turning over his humerus, right? With the king's move, you rely very much on your anatomy, and you actually turn your humerus over to use that as a kind of faux pronation into the opponent's hand. Side note, this is one of my favorite matches of all time. Once you're done here, you gotta check it out. All links will be in the description. Okay, next up we have the defensive top roll, and for this, who better to teach us than the Jedi himself? Okay, this happens fast, so you gotta pay attention. What Giannis on the left is going to do is he's actually going to give up some of that center space in order to get more into his opponent's fingers. So check it out. You see that? He gives up a little, he goes onto the defensive side of the table, but that's really a tactical decision to get a better attack on his opponent's hand. Keep in mind, you have to be very fast to pull this off. The whole idea is that you beat your opponent to their side of the table, and by doing so you actually get more out onto their fingers and then begin your top roll. However, if they're faster than you, all of a sudden you're on their side of the table, they keep their wrist flexion, and you're in a whole world of trouble. Alright, it's posting top roll time, which is probably the most efficient way to beat someone. And who better to teach us it than the beast, Travis Bagent. Say what you will about him now, but Travis, when he's in form, is a monster. So here we have the very first frame after the ref says go, and right off the bat you can see that very high hand, very high knuckle position from Travis. A few frames later you can see Travis keeps that high hand. He's absolutely won the height game here, and he's using that brachialis to really pull back and up and open up Georgie. I mean, look at the distance. See the distance between Georgie's shoulder in his hand versus Travis. Travis is posting back, keeping a strong high hand, and then just falls to the pin pad. When you add in that strong pronation, you got yourself a posting top roll. High hand, posting backwards, pronate, fall to the pin pad. Very efficient way to burn through a tournament bracket without getting too much fatigue. Alright, moving on, we have the low hand top roll, and for that we're going to check out Matt Mask. Low hand top rolls are a great option if you're going against an inside puller, and what do you know? Matt's going against an inside puller. You know your opponent is going to be sort of chopping down, trying to get wrist on wrist with you, so playing that height game with a posting top roll isn't as critical. Instead, you want to hit them where it hurts. You want to get into their fingers with the big meaty part of your hand, pull backwards, and pronate like hell.
Close your hands, go!
Can you see that? Look where Matt's pronating through. He's deep into the fingers. He doesn't have that high knuckle like we saw with Travis. Instead, he's just pulling. He's still using a lot of brachialis. You still want to separate your opponent from their shoulder, but look where he's pronating through, right into Hutchings' hand. Okay, and here's where things might get a little spicy. We're going to talk King's move. And recently, Michael Todd's made a point to differentiate between offensive kings moving and defensive kings moving, and I think there is some merit to that. So again, anytime you hear me using that defensive word, it means you're going to be giving up that center space in order to gain some kind of tactical advantage elsewhere. You're going to be able to see that demonstrated perfectly by Devin here. He has no interest in winning the center. He's going to give that up in order to get a stop right above the pin pad against Chafee. So let's check it out. Did you see that? Devin's entire strategy was to get a stop on the defensive end of the table. So how does this differentiate from an open top roll? Well, we can actually use Devin's bicep as a guide here. You can see it runs parallel with the table, and that's an indicator that his humerus is rolled over. Again, contrast that with Engin Terzi, his biceps pointing upwards, meaning that his humerus hasn't rolled over yet to get that extra pronation through his anatomy. I'll play this again at quarter speed, and this time really pay attention to Devin's upper arm. You can see him throw it over to get that extra force into Chafee's hand. Ready? Right there, he's rolling his whole bone structure out to just drive into Chafee's hand and fingers. Okay, and finally, let's contrast that with the offensive King's move here. And who better than Michael Todd to show us? As you can probably infer, offensive in this context means going towards your pin pad right off the jump. Okay, so check this out. We're going to see Michael Todd hit that same King's move style, turning over that humerus, but this time he's not going to play defensive and try to stop Devin above the pin pad. He's actually going to hit to the left, Michael Todd's left here, and go for more of a offensive hit. And there you have it. Bicep once again is more parallel with the table. He's turned over that humerus, really driving into Devin's hand, not just with his pronator, but also with his bone structure that is turning over. So here we have an offensive King's move a couple seconds after the start. And here again, we have a defensive King's move a couple seconds after the start. And you can see there's a big difference here, and that's why I said there's some merit to differentiating between the two. Alright, I'm going to stop it there before this video gets too long, and again, I'm not the absolute authority on this, but I hope you picked up something interesting. Before I sign off, I want to give a big thanks to Aussie Arm Wrestler and Uncle John. They shouted me out on their video the other day, and it was just so cool to see that. They're some of the best dudes in this community, so thank you guys. And finally, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like and subscribe. I put out multiple new videos every week, and I will see you in the next one.